here we go. So why are they actually undertaken? That's probably the key question that we sort of haven't got to yet. But fundamentally, you're not really wanting to just assess whether a new road facility is safe by waiting for whether crashes actually occur. For the first part, it's not an ethical approach. We shouldn't be waiting for something to fail before we make it as safe as possible. And then the other issue is that this isn't really an effective way of figuring out whether our road is safe anyway. Crashes do not happen very often. And so it will take a very long time for there to be a statistical significant sample of crashes for you to actually find an underlying crash rate and therefore locate the areas of the road which are unsafe or where the safety needs to be improved. And then we also have the other problem that most crashes don't actually result in death or serious injury. And so they don't actually often get reported into centralised databases. This is a particularly issue for bicycle crashes. There's a lot of people who break arms and injure themselves in fairly small ways, and end up in hospital or end up having serious injury that significantly impacts their life. And yet these might not appear on centralised crash databases because they don't get reported to the police. And research that has there's a lot of research going on trying to compare hospital data with crash database data, and generally speaking, there's a lot of crashes that don't make it across the boundary. And so there's a lot of crashes out there that road authorities just don't know about, but we're still getting people presenting at hospital with various injuries who have been injured on the road. Road safety audits are, as I've mentioned a couple of times, they're inexpensive, and that's a really good reason to take these things. A few $1,000s is a small fraction of the design costs, and design costs are a small fraction of the actual costs of doing a project. So to get some experts out there, some people focused on safety, it's a very small investment. And as you can see in the research quoted in the Off-Roads Guide, the benefit cost ratio of undertaking a road safety audit is ginormous. Here we go, BCRs of 3 to 1 to 242 to 1. That's amazing. 75% of recommendations in an audit had a BCR of over 10. These are things that, particularly at the design stage, as I mentioned, a small change to a plan, moving a couple of lines here and there, making a cross-section slightly different, can make a huge difference to the outcome of a project, and therefore massive increases to safety. And then the other thing is that road safety audits are very quick. It's less than a week usually to do the site visits, and then for you yourself as the project manager or the person who has requested the road safety audit, who's engaged the auditor to audit your project, responding to the audit findings usually only takes a couple of hours. And yet you might find a nugget of information in there or a few small changes that are going to make a significant difference to your project as far as outcomes. Onwards to how a road safety audit is undertaken. Well, first of all, you need to select an audit team and collect the background information and try and have a commencement meeting with your design team, you the project manager, and the auditors that you have engaged to give them a bit of an outline as to exactly what the project is, what you're trying to achieve with the project, and to make sure that you're all on the same page about what the project is and how the audit's going to go. The auditors will then go out and assess the background information, and they'll do site inspections under a range of conditions. It's very important to have a look at the road environment, particularly under day and night conditions, because it can be very, very different. And some things that might be obvious as a safety issue at night time just are not apparent based on lighting conditions and where headlights might be and things like that. The auditors will then prepare a formal report, and it's good to have a post-audit meeting with the auditors as well and the project team so that everybody knows exactly what the major finding was, and there's a chance to discuss how you might change your design or how you might change your works to improve safety. And then the project manager, with consultation with your team of designers, would provide a written response to the audit findings. Some of these things, the commencement meeting and the post-audit meeting, can often be done quickly over the phone. Depends on the scale of the project. If you're doing a roadworks traffic management audit, commencement meetings and post-audit meetings are usually done on-site immediately before and after the site inspections, where you can get out there and have a chat to the person who's actually put in the traffic management scheme and who's put down all the signs, and give them some practical suggestions on the ground to say, well, I think you should move this sign further down there so it's not behind a hill. These sorts of things can have immediate effect, essentially.